How would you like to have a radiant health at 40 plus? Dr. Marissa Heisel will tell us how to do it, and she's a passionate advocate for women's and children's transformational health. And for over 26 years, she's delved into the intricate tapestry of natural healing modalities, blending the wisdom of holistic chiropractic care with insights from her background in midwifery and child development. So, Marissa, tell us more about how women like me over 40 can get radiant health. Heal podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, a lot of the focus these days on midlife health for women is really focused almost exclusively on hormones. Now, that's not to say that hormones aren't important. Obviously, there are. We undergo significant changes in our hormones, really starting from perimenopause, which can be as early these days as 35 or 40. And then when we start to get a little closer to our menopausal years, 45 or 50, clearly there's a massive change in our hormonal well-being, what we've been used to all of our lives as women. But all of the focus is on that now. And my assertion is that we really need to look at our internal mindset, our knowledge, and the way that culture has really played on that, because you can I say fix with quotes around it, but you can work with somebody on her hormones and have her not necessarily feel any better, because there is so much more that's going on at midlife that really contributes to our capacity to live these really vital, vibrant lives. So my focus isn't so much on the hormones. There are some great people doing work in that area, but on the rest of it, about guiding women out of a state of systemic dependency on external authorities and into a state of radical self-trust and inner wisdom that maybe we haven't really experienced for much of our lives.
Thank you. Now, I don't think I have any wisdom related to my health, so I leave that to the experts. So tell me, what would someone who is 40 plus need to look at? Okay, now I don't know anything about hormones or hormonal health or anything else that I should be doing at 40 plus. What's the blueprint for someone to consider, aside from, because you mentioned hormonal health, yes, is important, but what else is important as well that you would say most women just fail to look at?
So I think what we need to look at first is a major cultural transformation that says that women at this stage of life, at 40, 45 and up, are these really vital, experienced, passionate beings who have potentially raised children, held jobs, run businesses, have just a boatload of experience. And what we're told culturally is that this is a time of decline. My argument is that this is a time of homecoming, that it's a time of awakening to our inner passions, to our inner power, to our greater sense of purpose at this time in our lives, especially if we've raised children, and we still are mothers potentially, but if we've raised our children who are now young adults, we have this renewed capacity to really look at who we are, what we want to be doing, who we want to be seen as, and how we want to live this next phase of our lives for probably 20, 25 years. There's this archetype that says that women are either a maiden, a mother, or a crone. And I don't know about you, but at 40, 45, 50, I'm nowhere near ready to be called a crone. What I do know is that women have this tremendous accumulated wisdom at this stage of life, not just about health, but about life in general. Women at this stage, used to be seen as the matriarchs. They used to be seen as the wisdom keepers. They were the people that other members of their communities would come to help with decision making, to help with understanding. And that role has really shifted. So there are a few things that we want to be looking at this age. Yes, hormonal health is one of them, because with our changes to hormones, there are things that start to happen like hot flashes, like potentially some memory fog, some mind fog, potentially changes in libido. And those are things that we want to address holistically or conventionally, whatever somebody's choice is, so that a woman can still feel healthy from the inside out. But if all we're doing is addressing the physical and the physiological, then we're missing this whole other piece that talks about this deep embodiment, this empowerment, this feeling of vibrancy, this feeling of this accumulation of wisdom. And I think what we need to be looking at is, how do we change the cultural narrative so that women at this stage of life feel more empowered, more vibrant, more purposeful than they potentially have up to those years?
Thank you. I've noticed, for example, a dramatic reduction in libido. Okay, I would say 99%, and I'm 43. And I've also noticed that when I feel really great, like in flow, when I feel like ultra attractive and desirable and so on, it kind of corresponds to the times when I'm also really productive in my business. Like I make a lot of money, or, like I close a lot of deals, or I just meet really exciting people, or, I'm just in sync. Is there anything women can do that are over 40 to, you can say, to potentiate, I don't know, to kind of optimize their sexual health and libido so that they can continue to be ultra productive in their business and not have that kind of impact the business or their lives in general?
I guess one question is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that your hormones are flowing right now, and so you're feeling more in your body, more embodied, more sexual, your libido is a little higher, and so now you're closing more deals? Or is it that your entire outlook on life right now is a little more positive, a little more in flow, you're a little more excited about what it is that you're doing, and your hormones are responding appropriately? We often think about the physiological first, and the reality might be that it's our alignment with our higher self, with our greater sense of purpose, with the work that we're doing, with the people that we're connecting with, that's driving some of that internal physical effect. The conventional medical system tends to cut us off at the neck and says that what's going on up here, or even in our gut, which is one of our more powerful brains in our body, has nothing to do with our emotions, or that our emotions and our physical health are completely discommunicated from each other. And that's not true. When we are standing in our deepest alignment with who we are, what we know, what we believe, our sense of purpose, our whole body really sings with that. Our physiology does, our hormones do. And so maybe it's not just that we need to protect our hormones. That could be part of it. But it could also be that we really need to protect our mindset, our knowledge, our sense of vitality, our sense of purpose. Really start to understand what our North Star is, what that inner compass is of who we are, what we stand for, what our purpose is, what we want to be doing with our lives. Does it light us up? Does it bring us joy? Or do we feel exhausted at the end of every day? And up to this point in life, we've potentially been going through the motions, especially if you have kids and you're working or you own a business. There's so much on women's plates that sometimes it's really hard to stop and consider, does this light me up? Am I doing what I want to be doing? It's more like you get up, you brush your teeth, you go to work, you come back, you brush your teeth, you go to sleep, and you're taking care of your whole family and your household while you're doing it. At this stage of life, as we start to have older children, as maybe there aren't the same kind of needs being placed on us, maybe we're not running around like chickens with our heads cut off to quite the same extent, there's more capacity. We have more room to really start to look at what lights me up and how do I stay in alignment with that. When I feel like I'm being pulled off course, when my libido isn't particularly functional, when my hormones feel like they're all over the map, when my emotions are out to lunch, when I've got tremendous brain fog, and when I'm feeling really disempowered or unhappy, those things all really coincide with each other. And so part of the work is finding the path, the rituals, the ways that we can keep ourselves in alignment with that inner compass, with that North Star of the way I do anything is the way I do everything. And I'm going to come from a place that brings me joy and lights me up and makes me feel empowered. And then everything is running at this beautiful hum, including hormones and libido.
Thank you. So how can someone activate their radiant health 40 plus? Is there like a blueprint someone can follow, like a step-by-step process?
I'm going to have to say that there isn't exactly a step-by-step process, because that's a very outside-in kind of approach. And what my work is really about is trying to help women find the inside-out approach. And so there are certain things that we can look at. We can look at our mindset. And is it overwhelmingly negative? Is it positive? Is it neutral? Do we think about what lights us up in life? Do we know what our purpose is right now, or what the next phase of life might look like for us? Where do we want to live? What do we want to be doing? How do we want to be contributing? Are we spending any time on our own self-care? And that doesn't necessarily mean mani-pedis and hair appointments, as fun as they can be. It might be something as simple as, are you getting outside? Are your feet in the grass? Are you getting any sunshine? Do you have blue lights and computer screens in your face day and night? Are you getting restorative sleep? Are you eating decently? Are you getting a lot of sugar? Are you eating a lot of processed foods, or are you eating a lot of whole nutritional foods? Do you take time to close your eyes and just focus on your breath for 5 minutes a day? And we need to start to look at all of those different things which really move the needle in terms of that feeling of embodied health, of vitality, of vibrancy. Our lifestyle these days is really go, 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 go. And it's about convenience over substance. And I think we need to flip that switch a little bit, not only for ourselves at this stage of life, but for our children as well. Because what we're doing right now is not particularly sustainable for human health and well-being. It's just not. We're seeing more people sick, more younger people sick with really significant illnesses than we've ever had before. And yet we're spending more money on conventional healthcare than we've ever spent before. And so there's that missing piece of that inner work that we need to be doing. It's going to look a little different for every one of us, but it needs to start with that slowing down, being intentional, not necessarily always looking for convenience, and asking those deeper questions that has everything to do with, how do I nourish myself in every possible way? Food, the entertainment that I'm watching, the devices that I'm using, the sleep that I'm getting or not getting, all of these things have an impact on our bodies. And to look for those easy steps, that's not necessarily going to give us the results that we're looking for. And so I often say, I'm not suggesting we go back to a time of Little House on the Prairie, but I do think we need to go back to a time of a little bit more simplicity, perhaps.
Thank you. What are the best rituals for women over 40 to feel confident, empowered, and radiant?
Best rituals. I think there are a number of rituals, and the best one is probably going to be the one that really lights you up, because there will be some things, there will be those women who want to run across burning hot coals at a retreat, and other women who are like, good Lord, no. So, the simplest ones, we need to be out in the sunshine whenever possible. And that doesn't mean all day long, and it doesn't mean that you want to be getting burned, but you do need to be getting some sunshine on your face and on your skin every day that it's possible, especially when you're not in the depths of winter, depending on where you live. We need to be thinking about simplifying our nutrition. That doesn't mean only eating 5 things or being paleo or being vegan or being carnivore or anything like that. It means taking the time to cook real food, not just grabbing an energy bar or a muffin, not just grabbing processed foods, not living off of coffee and donuts, but really taking the time to nourish our bodies, whatever that might be. If you are totally carnivore, go for it if it works for you. If you're completely vegan, fantastic. But even vegan food, if you're buying it from a grocery store, out of the freezer, and you read the ingredients, not really nourishing. So we want to look at what nutrients do we need in our body? Sometimes that might mean that we need to add in some herbs, some minerals, some supplements, but it can really start with, how can I eat intentionally and really nourish my body? And then, as I said before, there is something so powerful about the breath. And it doesn't have to be one specific type of breath work. It doesn't have to be Wim Hof breath work, and it doesn't have to be box breathing. It can literally be sitting and closing your eyes, one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and just breathing in and following your breath, not trying to meditate, because in the Western world, that can sometimes be difficult. The number of people who want to meditate but can't shut off their brains can feel very frustrating. Instead, we follow our breath. Does it feel like when I breathe that my chest rises and falls? Does my stomach rise and fall? Does one rise more than the other? Can I balance them? Can I play with this? And as I'm focusing on my breathing, does my mind calm at all? Every time I feel that my mind starts spinning again, can I just bring my attention back to my breath? And it's something that you can do sitting at a desk, at a busy office. It's something that you can even do at a kitchen table if you have children running circles around you. But it's a really easy way to ground ourselves back into our bodies. See, women have these really rich hormonal cycles from the time that we're young teens right through our, early 50s. And those cycles mean that we are deeply embodied beings. And we can follow the rhythm of those cycles, even when those cycles change. But our modern lifestyle pulls us out of our bodies. Our modern lifestyle pulls us into everything going on around us, all of the organizing that we need to be doing, the 17 tabs that are open at the same time in our brains, and the 34 open on our computer screens. And we're not living these really purposeful, embodied lives. And then we wonder why we're not feeling well in our bodies. But the reality is, for so many of us, we're not in our bodies. We're here. We're just in our minds, and our minds are spinning. And we have to-do lists for our to-do lists without actually stopping to remember that we have a body that we need to connect with. What can sometimes happen at midlife is that your body starts throwing bricks at your head, like, remember me? Now do you remember me? And as these symptoms start to pile up, we start to wonder what's wrong with us and how we fix it. But the simplest rituals can be food, sunshine, breath, clean water, and just slowing down the tiniest little bit.
Thank you. For me, I find that I am less radiant, even though I may be healthy, but I look less radiant when I have negative emotions, such as disappointment, or let's say jealousy, or let's say a client said they would appear and they don't appear on a sales call. It happens less, for example, with a podcast, someone not appearing. It doesn't bother me as much, but it's just little things that kind of literally make me go from looking incredibly radiant, full of energy, like this Easter bunny that is just like waiting to have his chocolate, and like something really tiny could like literally drive me off the edge, and then all of a sudden I'm not radiant anymore. At least I don't feel radiant. Is there anything someone can do to kind of stop, kind of like this yo-yo of negative emotions and stay in that radiant health more?
That is a brilliant question. You framed that so beautifully. And the answer is yes. Part of it comes back to this really strong internal compass of knowing who you are, knowing what's important to you, and really feeling this internal connection, that you have this internal wisdom, that you are the internal authority in your life. And when things are going on around you, they're not pulling you off course, because you're not as connected to or reliant on the external, because your internal structure is just so strong. That's part of it. Another part of it is understanding that, well, one of the sayings out there is that everything is frequency and matter. And when we start to feel frustrated with things that are going on around us, it's changing that internal frequency in our bodies. And so we're actually going up and down in our own internal frequency, which is then changing the vibration of our cells. It's changing the vibration of our organs. It's actually changing the function of our brain. And so when we're getting pulled off course, it's changing that internal frequency in our body. And we might be dropping into lower consciousness, shame, guilt, anger, frustration, instead of staying in this more heart-centered, open-centered place of love, of light, of trust, of belief. And so again, that's a practice of coming back to when you start to feel yourself being pulled off course, do you have this true north that you can close your eyes and focus on what your greater purpose is? And it might be this particular business deal, but instead of focusing on that deal and that person who didn't show, can you focus on the higher purpose behind it or beyond it? What's the purpose of this deal? What are you trying to achieve in your life? What message are you trying to send? What are you creating? Can we step into a higher place of creation in order to hold our energetic center? And that takes practice. It's not something that we're generally taught as kids in Western culture. It's something that can be taught to children, but depending on the family that you came from, I don't think most of us had that background. And there's this learned experience of needing to be in our bodies, in our higher sense of self, our higher purpose, and not letting everything pull us off course, being so connected to our own inner knowing, our own inner truth, that no matter what craziness is going on around us, we might respond briefly, but we see it and we bring ourselves back.
Thank you. I never could understand actually. What do, presidents, what do they do that they are able to be so strong? So that, let's say you have 100 different articles and TikToks, mocking you and talking badly about you, and a lot of it untrue and a lot of it false, a lot of it, exaggerated and so on. Or like the Kim Kardashians of the world, beautiful, powerful, sensual, ultra successful, wealthy women. And then seeing how a woman like that would have, I don't know, millions of followers. But if you look really closely at the comments, you would see some people are, bashing these really gorgeous, successful women. And some people are, in awe of how beautiful and successful they are. And I never could understand how being the Kim Kardashian of the world, how you're able to be so strong as to not get affected, not get impacted negatively and emotionally by these people that
trolls.
Trolls. Yes. So how does someone become so strong? Like you did say, it takes a lot of practice, but what can someone do to become so strong when you're clearly I'm not that strong? Like someone could comment on my post and say, I know you're ugly or something. And I could feel that. And I don't know what 100,000 people commenting, that I was ugly or something, what that could do to me. So,
I mean, the reality is, I think so many people do feel that intensely. We have more mental and emotional illness right now in the world than we've ever had before. And so I really do think that having this online culture has been really detrimental to our sense of self and our inner well-being. I'll start with that. But I do think that there are ways that we can learn to tune it out. Number one is not to be looking at it. Easier said than done, perhaps, when so much of your business might run online or your personal life might run online. But, sometimes 1 degree of separation can help. Having somebody else who works with you on your social media can sometimes be of assistance. I think more important than that, though, is something became really clear to me 5-6 years ago. It became really clear that so much of our lives are spent looking for what's most important to us outside of ourselves. We look for love outside of ourselves. We look for creativity outside of ourselves. We look for affirmation outside of ourselves. We look for truth outside of ourselves. We look for God outside of ourselves, instead of recognizing that we have all of that inside of ourselves. And when we can stand in the fullness of our own power, our own truth, our own belief, that North Star, that inner compass, then no matter what somebody is saying outside, I'm not going to say it never hurts and there's no twinge. We have no idea what Kim Kardashian actually thinks. We do know that a lot of celebrities have more mental health issues than we might realize, initially. But I do think that when we know who we are and why we are and what we're doing and what we're trying to create, and we focus on the creation of those things from inside of ourselves, and we're literally constantly working on expanding our heart center, coming from a place of love, expanding into greater lightness of being, I think it makes it a lot easier to either disregard the noise outside or to look at it and go, that's not who I am at all. If we know who we are, what somebody else is saying about us doesn't have that same kind of sting in any way, even if it's 100,000 people, because we know that's not the truth. That might be their perception or their cruelty, but it's not the truth of who we are internally. The more that we can anchor into that, the more difficult it is to get pulled off track. It doesn't matter who says what. It doesn't matter what we're told to comply with. It doesn't matter how we're told to eat or spend our time, or if it's out of alignment with what we know, we're not going to do it because we stand that strong. But it is a process, and it starts with really sitting and giving ourselves the time. And it's, sometimes it comes to us in dreams. Sometimes it comes to us in visualization. Sometimes it comes with being creative or journaling or being in nature or putting the devices away for 2, 3, 4, 5 days even, and just getting back into our inner curiosity and creativity. If we can let go of the noise, more of the signal starts to show up.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
So right now, the best way to connect with me is on my website, which is elementalhealingarts.life. There are a lot of things being revamped and moving pieces, but that's a great way to do it. You can download a PDF there called Energy Elevation Blueprint, or join an email list. And as more things start to roll out, then it'll be easier to find me as well.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health change makers to live your healthiest life ever.